Well, Ulysses, there's been reports, and I guess if Mark Topkin's writing about it, it's true that the Rays will be declining their club option on Kevin Kiermaier and paying him a $2.5 million buyout. So, does this mean KK in a Rays uniform?
It certainly could, but it certainly could not, right? So let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays and email us lockedonrays@gmail.com. All right, Ulises, it appears that Kevin Kiermaier, at 32 years old, he just recently had surgery and he seems to be in good spirits, but he, of course, is in the last guaranteed year of his contract with the Rays and will be a free agent when they pay him a $2.5 million buyout rather than pick up his $13 million option. So the question is, do you personally think Kevin Kiermaier will be in a Rays uniform in 2023?
Loaded question for a Rays fan who has seen this guy just do amazing things on the field, man. Just with the glove, incredible. Man. I would like to highlight a quote, actually, that he said to answer this question. He said, "I know one thing and one thing only, and that this is some place I love, so I'd be lying to you if I said I wouldn't listen to anything from this front office. It'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward, but for sure, I have interest." That sounds like, don't lowball me, and I'm back.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds like to me. And you do the math. There are only 4 spots. There's a 5th outfielder spot that is still kind of free. So,
okay.
Can he become a bench guy?
What are those 4 spots that are spoken for?
Randy Rosarena.
Okay.
You've got Jose Siri.
Right.
Manny Margot.
Right.
Josh Lowe. I'm going to give it to him the 4th spot. I'm not going to give it to Vidal Brujan because I feel like he would be more of a utility, like middle, infield and outfield kind of guy. And then the 5th guy would be open. It could be KK. Okay. It could be a return of David Peralta. It could be Harold Ramirez stays with the team.
It could be Jonathan Aranda.
Could be Jonathan Aranda
playing corner outfield. So you say that if Kiermaier was to come back to the Rays, it would mainly be as an off-the-bench guy?
Not off-the-bench guy necessarily, but I would think, again, if you look at the quotes, there was a lot of turf talk from himself. And so he's kind of like saying, I love this place, but maybe it would be smarter for my body and my numbers if I weren't playing on concrete and diving there. So I think not a bench guy. He's not going to be a defensive replacement in the 9th inning. That's not who he is even to this day. But you would see them exclusively use him in positions where he can absolutely succeed.
And what do they pay him for that? What do they pay him for that? Because they're already giving him $2.5 million for the buyout.
Right. But that's already a sunk cost. So you don't even put that, that's already, that's sunk cost. You don't even put that into the mathematics. $5 million. $5 million, I think would be good for what he can provide defensively. And again, I know people like to crap on KK's offense. I know I have done so in the past. I know you have done so in the past. I know a lot of Rays fans have done so in the past. We talked about this. He's basically like so close to being average.
Right.
Like now put the plus on the defensive side. He gives you overall really good value. So $5 million might sound like a lot for Rays fans who know Rays economics, but I think that's something that the Rays have always stressed is defense. If you paid him 10, 11, 12 mil, I think 5 mil after paying him 12 would be okay. We can do this.
Right. Yeah. I got to be honest. I don't think he's returning to the Rays in 2023. I think Jose Siri and Manny Margot, those are your center fielders. I think Siri is their center fielder of the future. I mean, I think that the fact that the Rays gave up Seth Johnson tells me that they're going to be relying on him heavily in big time. And, you know, it's so funny. I mean, I do like how Kevin Kiermaier was so forthright in his comments, but his comments almost seemed like resigned to the fact that he wasn't coming back. I mean, he said, quote, and this is according to both ESPN or an AP story that was on ESPN and Topkin. He said, quote, "I've been here for a long time, and sometimes the change of different personnel is a good thing for teams sometimes. Also, part of me is like, would I benefit from playing on grass every day? Maybe. I've got so accustomed to everything here. There's so many pros and cons, way more pros, but the turf, that's definitely a big issue." I think Kevin Kiermaier in 2023, he's signing a 1 year, 5, 6, maybe $7 million at the most prove it deal in Atlanta, in Miami, in Chicago, or Milwaukee. That's where
No. If I were him, if I were Kevin Kiermaier, first of all, I would not return to the Rays. Like, get your money somewhere else. Get your playing time somewhere else.
His money's going to be a 1 year deal. He's not going to get a
Sure. Get the 1 year deal. But I'm saying like the Rays would give him what? I'm being probably way generous with Stu's money here. 1 year, $5 million for KK. Probably Stu, who listens to the show daily, as we know, would be like, no, I'm not giving KK $5 million for 1 year deal. Are you kidding me? So I know I'm being generous, but I do think he could probably get a $7 million deal. But if he's going to get a $7 million deal for a year, a prove it deal, bro, go to the Rockies. Who cares about winning? Who cares?
Yeah.
Get your money, go to the Rockies, like get your bombs. I know, don't we know? Oh no. KK has the best bat flips in this franchise history. Of course he does. And he wants to hit dingers. What better place for him to not only hit dingers, but also show off with that big outfield that they have in Colorado? He would love that.
He would, but he also has a family in Tampa, and I would think that he'd want to try to maintain some closeness there if possible, which is why I mentioned Atlanta or Miami, or alternatively the Chicago Cubs, where his brother is the head groundskeeper there, or the Brewers, where he can reunite with Willie Adames and so many other former Rays players. And it's both Milwaukee and Chicago are close to
very close,
his Fort Wayne, Indiana hometown. So I'm thinking of it as a family affair, if you will, a more comfortability factor, if you will, as opposed to going to, I don't know if he's, well, I mean, he doesn't, to me, give off Colorado vibes. I mean, I guess he could wind up there, but I don't think it would make sense for him to, hey, I'll take an $8 million deal in Colorado versus a $6.5 million deal.
Again, depends on the money. That's what I said first. Depends on the money that you're being offered. If every kind of offer is right around the same kind of, monetary value, then yeah, I would think that he would go the Charlie Morton route and go somewhere close to home. But if, again, there is a way better, if everything he's getting is $5 million, $4 million, and then the Rockies come calling for $8 million, he going to Colorado. Like that's.
I don't know why the Rockies would come calling for $8 million. I have no idea why they would make a deal like that, but it is the Rockies, so they've done crazy things before. I would think though that
Chris Bryant. Who would have ever thought they were going to give that money to Chris Bryant? Like I'm telling you, like they do wacky things in Colorado. By the way, I'm using Colorado just because I think it would be kind of fun to see Kevin Kiermaier finally become maybe the 2020 threat that I always thought he was going to be. He never actually became a 2020 threat. He was real close 1 year though. He was real close 1 year. So yeah, I could see that being healthy. Colorado, better air for him. I like it.
I think I'm willing to put a prop bet on this, but he will be signing somewhere where spring training is in the Grapefruit League. It's in Florida as opposed to Arizona.
Again, it's 1 year though. It's not like he's gonna be like uprooting for like forever and leaving his family forever. Like it's
right.
It's only a year.
Are we in agreement that there is no way that, again, Kevin Kiermaier can't get a $10 million plus deal, right? For 1 year.
You know what? Before I answer that, I got to tell you about Built Bar, bro. I got to tell you about Built Bar. I'm just leaving you in suspense because if you haven't tried the Built Bar Puffs yet, you're depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. Let me introduce you to your new favorite, to my new favorite, cookie dough chunk puffs, which have a light and chewy texture, real cookie dough chunks, and of course, they're covered in what? Say it from the back. 100% real chocolate. You know it. You love it. Cookie dough chunk puffs are only 160 calories, and they have 15 grams of protein in them. This is really good for you guys, okay? They're delicious and they're healthy. So what do you have to do? You got to go to built.com, and you're going to use promo code LOCKEDON15. Again, this is a change up. It's always been a different code. Now it's locked on 15. Make sure to do that. Locked on 15, and you'll get 15% off your order. So again, use promo code locked on 15 to get 15% off your order at built.com. Does Kevin Kiermaier get higher than $10 million deal for 1 year? I would think not.
Yeah.
I don't think so. However, if you're Kevin Kiermaier, do you want security or do you want financial gain?
So
by that I mean, do you take the $7 million prove-it deal 1 year
right
in Colorado or $12 million for 2 years in Atlanta, in Miami?
I would take the 2-year deal if I'm him.
If you're him, you would take the 2 year?
He's no spring chicken. And he
Well,
just had relatively major surgery.
So I would put him above JBJ in both defensive skills and offensive skills. Yeah. And JBJ got a 2-year deal with the Brewers. So a couple of years ago, I know, and in this economy, I know, guys, but
crazy.
You know, now it's like, why?
Andrew McCutchen, he had, for all intents and purposes, a really, really solid year with Philadelphia last year, playing in 145 games, 27 home runs. And this is Andrew McCutchen we're talking about.
Right.
And all he could get was $8.5 million for 1 year.
I know.
He's a couple years older, 34 going on 35, but Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah, there's the marquee name, a little bit older, maybe not as fleet of foot in the in the outfield as he once was. Rated kind of poorly with the defensive metrics. So, yeah, you're like kind of like, okay, where do we stick him?
You're not going to expect Kevin Kiermaier is not winning any more Gold Gloves. That's
you. But okay, come on. We're really talking about horrible defensive output in the outfield to Gold Gloves. Like there's so many other categories between Gold Glove and awfulness. And Kevin Kiermaier is real close to Gold Glove status than he is of awful defensively. So I would
different types of players, sure, but I guess it just goes back to I find it hard to believe that McCutchen can only get $8.5 million for 1 year, and then Kiermaier would get $10 million.
Who's calling though? Who's calling at McCutchen's door, and who could possibly call at Kevin Kiermaier's door? Because
a team that wants 27 homers.
If a team wants 27 homers, call McCutchen, and that's great. But if it's a team that wants to maybe round up their defense, have a veteran guy who has been there, done that,
done that too. I'm not getting into different things. I get your point. I would be absolutely shocked. Like I'm thinking like $5 to $8 million. Like that's the range
for 1 year.
For 1 year, yes.
I think that's reasonable. I'm saying double digits with 2 years. So I'm saying $12 million for 2 years, something like that.
I got you.
Again, JBJ got, I think, 2 years for 14 mil. So I'm like,
No.
if I'm KK, I'm telling my agent, hey, JBJ got that. Like, at least get me that. I don't care. Like, at least get me that. But are there teams who are willing to put that much money, that many years for a guy with Kevin Kiermaier's IL or DL tradition, history, past, whatever you want to call it? It's tough. It's tough because then you can be like, well, I could be paying this guy $7 million and he's only going to put up 85 games. Is that worth it?
Right. The Locked On Rays listening contingent out there, we put the poll up. Will the Rays re-sign Kevin Kiermaier in 2023 after they decline the club option and pay the $2.5 million buyout? 22% say yes. 78% say no. Getting to some comments here. Alex Mullen says, as long as he takes a big pay cut, I think he absolutely comes back. Ty McCann says, my heart says yes, but my head says no. Ben says, too soon to say. Let's see how this outfield finishes the rest of the year. Getting Margot back soon. Peralta's a free agent at the end of the year. See how Quinn, Rayleigh, Siri, Peralta pan out. Troy McNabb says Quinn and Rayleigh probably won't be on the team. And the Rays still like Josh Lowe, who has much more upside than Rayleigh and Quinn. So there you go. And I guess let me put it to you this way. Or let me posit it to you this way. Would you rather have in 2023 Kevin Kiermaier or David Peralta? And before you answer that, let's tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite betting needs. Find all the sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. You can find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL combat sports, esports, and even golf. So head to BetOnline today or use that mobile device of yours to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, it is where the game starts.
Boy.
So Ulises, Peralta, Kiermaier, 2023 Rays uniform.
I gotta tell you, I am loving my David Peralta experience. Loving it. Guy is first step in the dugout. The guy is pretty good defensively. I haven't seen him like botch anything, which is nice. Like, he's not. Remember when Tommy Pham was playing left field for the Rays, and we always kind of came up with like the best adjective for Tommy Pham? Clunky.
Yeah,
you remember clunky. David Peralta ain't clunky.
Right.
He's agile. He's pretty smooth. Actually, I would use smooth as the adjective for David Peralta, which is crazy. He's 35. He's no spring chicken. So I think there's a debate to be had. I definitely like David Peralta's bat 100% more than what Kevin Kiermaier can produce. I don't know, man. I think that would be a question of, let's not take 10 years of a resume and only take 2 weeks of the David Peralta experience. So I think that's a great question. I really like what David Peralta is doing for the Rays. But I think we might have to revisit that like on November 5th after the Rays win the World Series.
Well, and again, I'm not trying to be a Kevin Kiermaier hater here, but I would much rather want a David Peralta or a David Peralta-like player to be on the roster. If there's only one roster spot available, I want a guy that I can count on to give you a 770 to 800 OPS and give you 20, 22, 25 bombs, because that is what this team is lacking. The complexion of this team, the lack of home runs, the lack of runs scored. You very legitimately might not have a guy get to 20 home runs for the Rays this year. And the last time that happened was in 1998 when Fred McGriff hit 19 for the expansion Devil Rays. So you desperately need somebody that can provide you pop. If it's not David Peralta, as Evan Klosky, we were in a chat in a text message chat, he was throwing out names like Josh Bell and Jose Abreu and Joey Gallo and Brandon Drury and Seth Brown. I think it's got to be, you need the bat. You've got the defense for all intents and purposes with Margot and Suri. I mean, you figure you can, work something out that way. You got to go off.
And Rosarena, let's not forget Rosarena. He's actually a really good fielder. Like I said last week, he's not to the Cerise level or to Margot level, but he's a good fielder. So
talking more
Kevin, I'm 100. Yeah, but I'm 100%. I'm 100%. I mean, look at this team's DNA. Like I get defense, pitching, and defense is the way to go. I understand that, but my goodness, you can't rely on Choi and Yandy to just be on for 162 games, and then ran it to drive them in. Like, you need a little bit more length, more thickness in that lineup. David Peralta provides that. So again, I like him right now. Could he be a guy for next year? Absolutely, he could be an option. But I actually was thinking of another option, maybe a little shiny option, a shinier option. Ooh. Yeah.
What is that?
I know he's just injured, so there might be injury questions, but if the price is right, wouldn't you like a guy like Michael Brantley wearing a Rays uni?
Great signing. Yeah.
Michael Brantley to Tampa Bay. Make it happen. Make it happen.
He's like what Harold Ramirez has done in 2-3 months with the Rays for the last 12 years.
Yes, but and with pop and I think a good glove from the eye test. Maybe the DRSs and the OAA fans are going to be like, dude, he sucks. Fine. All right. But whatever. Okay. I'm not going to go into a whole diatribe there. Yeah. But Michael Brantley is a heck of a player. He is a heck of a player. Like, that is somebody that when the injury news came out, I'm like, he's going to be a free agent. Wouldn't it be nice to have a guy like Michael Brantley at the top of the lineup? And now you're feeding maybe a Yandy, maybe Yandy goes. Maybe a G-Man Choi, maybe G-Man goes. Maybe a Jonathan Aranda gets the call-up. Maybe a Randy Rosarena at the top of the lineup with Wander Franco.
Yeah.
I mean, you start to get Manny Margot back.
Right.
I'm telling you, you need a little bit more punch in that lineup. And so I get Kevin Kiermaier, all of his attributes, but if I need to focus on something, if I'm in the front office, and of course you're listening, so hi front office, how you guys doing? Get offense, get a little bit more offense. You have the defense, you have the pitching, you need offense. I know they're probably saying that's not that easy to get, Ulises. It's really not. Well, buddy, that's your job. that's not my job. You find the bats.
Yeah,
because that's what you need.
Michael Brantley might be one of the most
indistinguishable,
underrated, great hitters of the last 15 years. Now, he's not going to provide gargantuan power. I mean, you're looking at 18 to 22 home runs a year, but honestly, the Rays need that.
What is that in the Rays? Yeah.
But it's how good of an all-around hitter he is. I mean, basically a 300 career hitter, and he's never going to strike out more than 75 times in a season. I mean, that's the type of player that we're talking about. So you insert him into the lineup, that would absolutely be huge. I think that would be really, really good if the Rays could pull that up and really right up their alley as well. But they need something. They need some, and who knows, maybe this is really stupid, but could the Rays go back and trade for Austin Meadows again? Buy low on him. I don't know.
Right.
Because that, again, as bad as Austin Meadows has been this year, and we talked about it before, but just that was a lot of offense that you lost. That was a lot of big offense that you lost. And you expect in the future in 2023 and beyond that, basically all of your best hitters don't get hurt at once. Who could have foreseen that to happen? But I really like that. I think that's definitely a name to watch going forward. I'd rather have Michael Brantley than Brandon Drury, who this just might be his career year. It could be I don't want to say a fluke output, but this is the first time we've heard of Brandon Drury.
he's been in the league for many years, and now people know the Brandon Drury name. Like it could be a Logan Forsythe.
Yeah.
Couple good year, like that happens. These guys are really good. They're only 700 spots, so the 700 guys that are up are pretty good players.
Yeah.
If they get enough playing time, my theory. If a guy gets enough playing time in like succession plus like quantity of years, you're going to see a year where they're going to pop off and be one of the best in the league. Like that just happens. Yeah. It's just the law of baseball.
Yeah. The Rays, just to put this full circle, they've hit fewer home runs than any team in the American League East this year. They're averaging .90 home runs a game. The Yankees, on the flip side, have been hitting 1.69 per game. Tampa Bay, as we know, they've gone from scoring 5.29 runs per game in 2021 to 4.07 in 2022, the biggest year-to-year drop in the majors, by the way. And of course, this has been an ongoing theme. The Rays have scored 3 runs or fewer in 13 of their last 18 games going into the weekend, which had translated to a 6-12 record. There you go. So they need something. They need something for, it'd be nice this year, but definitely next year in the future as well. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen, the Locked On MLB podcast with Sully, our buddy Sully. Ulises, you've made an appearance on that podcast before, haven't you?
I haven't. It's always a fun time. He has the best segues of the whole Locked On network. Like that's what we're aiming for. Every host just aims to be as good a seguer as our pal Sully.
I've yet to make an appearance there. He did reach out to me asking to be on, but it was like at an odd time. And anyway, I've yet to make an appearance on the Locked On MLB podcast with Sully. So Ulises is ahead of me in that regard. So we'll see if maybe I'll make my debut at some point. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you on Wednesday with a mailbag episode.